All right, welcome everybody. We are here with Cloud Experts Unleashed. I'm your host, Ryan Brown. I am Chief Marketing Officer at xByte Solutions. And I'm excited this week to have someone from one of our sister companies. We have Dakota Clum with us. Dakota, can you spend about 30 seconds and tell the audience about why you are a cloud expert?
Yeah, Ryan, absolutely. And thanks for having me. As Ryan said, my name's Dakota Clum. I'm the Chief Technical Officer for xByte Hosting. We specialize in cloud solutions for customers, who are looking to adopt a cloud or succeed in the cloud. My background is deeply involved with cloud solutions, scaling within the cloud, security services within the cloud, and using various cloud solutions.
Very nice, very nice. And so we are here, we kind of define the scope of today. We're going to talk about how the average business owner or IT person, how can they manage their own cloud infrastructure? So it's kind of there's a magic that's been promised for the cloud, and some of it is magic, and some of it you have to do the same things you have to do on-prem. And so we want to give you guys your checklist of what you need to do if you want to manage it yourself. Now, if you don't, then you can always take our checklist and go to companies and use that to see if they can do all those things for you. If you do choose to include xByte solutions in that group of people, just to let you know, we can do everything we're talking about today, and we'd be very excited to do that for you. So let's get into the meat of this. And we're going to bring up the first topic. Let me go ahead and just click the button here. We're going to talk about right sizing. So, of course, we're going to be measuring our infrastructure. And so with right sizing, let's get into that for Dakota. Coming from I came from the technology space, and in the Dell world, where our parent company xByte Technologies focuses, they have a system called Live Optics, which is great. You can deploy it. It can look at all of your CPU, your disk utilization, any of your metrics, and then give you a report after a certain number of days. You can kind of see where your peaks are, valleys are, kind of help you right sizing anything you're getting into. How does that correlate to the cloud environment?
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. In a cloud solution or just a cloud deployment, a popular alternative is Zabbix. It's a free application that can be deployed within your environment and mapped to all of your cloud solutions. So, you could have several servers, whether they be Windows, Linux, or servers serving, various different purposes. So with Zabbix, you have the ability to, monitor your servers in real time. What kind of CPU performance am I getting? How much RAM utilization do I have? What about my disk space? Or, how's IO performing? There's really various elements you can monitor. In addition to that, you can set up alerting. That could be SMS alerts. It could be email alerts. It could even be webhooks directly into your chat applications. Furthermore, you have reporting capabilities. So how did my server report or perform on Sunday at 12 o'clock? You have that information minute by minute available to you.
So now with right sizing, we had the little graphic up there of the person measuring the server. How important is that for somebody getting into a VPS or dedicated server?
Well, it's very important. So, a lot of solutions you see, it's a fixed server. You get a certain amount of resources, a certain amount of disk. And it's kind of just buy and forget and hope everything performs optimally. What organizations should be looking at is, okay, how is my server performing, or what is it doing at any given time? Do I have a lot of CPU activity every day at 5 p.m.? Am I, close to the amount of memory available on the system? Am I setting at that 95% threshold? So when you're really right-sizing an application, you have to ask yourself these things and say, okay, do I need to scale if my CPU is high at a certain hour or certain threshold? And really partnering with the hosting organization you're working with to determine that right size for you is going to be very important.
Yeah, I'll give a quick story for the audience that we just helped one of our recent customers coming into our cloud infrastructure, and they had an application that was running that had to do a certain procedure, and it would take them 2 hours every time they had to do that. And they never looked at the right size on their previous infrastructure. And when we worked with them, we were able to recommend the correct solution. And that process got down to 45 minutes. Now, it's not earth-shattering, it's not 5 minutes, but still, if you're at a critical application and it can go from 2 hours to 45 minutes, it's a big shift right there. And so we had just talked about Zabbix and as something to help, of course, help with right sizing, because it can do that. But then also, let me go ahead and show the next graphic right here, monitoring. Now, we're not doctors, and I guess we play them on TV here, as far as monitoring goes. But from what you said, it sounds like Zabbix or any of these. We don't want to just be a Zabbix commercial, but any of these type of tools could also be used for monitoring. So Dakota, can you talk to us a little bit about monitoring, what you recommend, and some of the things that people need to look out for?
Yeah, 100%. So, the cloud, it comes with a lot of components. Earlier I mentioned CPU, RAM, disk space, but it really goes beyond just that. So, how's your network performing? What kind of network bandwidth or download speeds are you achieving? And is it staying consistent with your business needs? A true monitoring solution, such as Zabbix, can tell you, is your server slowing down at certain hours of the day? Is your server pinned on CPU for an hour at a time? Or maybe you have plenty of disk space, but the read is performing really slowly or poorly for your application. So employing those monitoring tools, to every layer of your application, beyond just the application as well, but the server, is really important for your success.
Now, Dakota, before we came on today, we were talking about an instance recently from one of your customers that you were dealing with, where you had to step in, or your team had to step in from a monitoring situation. Can you kind of talk about that? And that's a good example of something that people need to look out for. And you have a couple stories on that one. One that was from a past provider, and then one that kind of crept up just the other day.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the story, it's funny because I feel like the story's happened several times, and it's why it's so important to partner with an organization, that's monitoring for you. Is things can go awry. Resources can rise unexpectedly, and when you do, you need an application or a team that's set to respond to it. Traditionally, what we've seen in these monitoring situations is a bottleneck of some sort. In this specific example, we saw a memory bottleneck. So an application on the server was actually consuming all the available resources, and it got to that critical threshold level where it could have impacted the server or even the application itself. So our team, received an alert based on that threshold, and we went in and proactively resolved the issue by finding the bottleneck. In addition to that, it's important, with monitoring, is you're not just being reactive, but you're being proactive for that next scenario. So our team also worked with that particular client to resolve that issue permanently.
Nice, yeah, and that is so important, because if you're not resolving the issue, it's so easy just to restart the VPS, and that's true not only in the cloud, of course, but any of our people who've on-prem infrastructures. It's very easy to just restart a server or to schedule a task to restart it at a certain time, as opposed to actually digging into what's causing memory leaks. And it's just it's a cheap solution, but long term it is better to actually resolve it, so you don't have to have those type of solutions in place. The next one we're going to get into, we're going to bring up this graphic, maintenance. So I mean, we're architects, we can measure stuff, we're doctors, and now we're mechanics. We're maintaining that infrastructure. We kind of do in IT, we do it all. Of course, we're also making sure you guys know you can do this on your own. But for maintaining, what should people do to maintain their infrastructure? It's not set it and forget it in this magical cloud space.
Yes, Ryan, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is a very important topic. Is you can't buy and forget. Organizations should be watchful for what kind of patches are happening on my server. If I'm in a Windows environment, a lot of people are familiar with Patch Tuesdays or Windows updates occurring. Within that update, are there security vulnerabilities that are being addressed? But it doesn't just stop at the operating system, but you have to consider the application layer or any services being used in tandem in that operating environment. So you have SQL Server, you have PHP or Cold Fusion, or just a variety of different web applications that all rely on independent updates. And some of those updates are critical, and when they come out, you need to make sure you're aware of them so you can patch your system and keep your environment secure.
So if you are doing this on your own, one of the things that we encourage you to do is to go out there in the forums, find the ones that talk about any of the different environments so you can kind of understand stuff. If you are doing any kind of infrastructure, another key area, so of course there's the forums that you can find out there, but also look at Slack communities. So kind of a tip for people is, if you can't find what you need out there in a forum, look to see if there's a Slack channel somewhere that you can be a part of, and then it'll have people talking about that infrastructure. I know Dakota come from that Cold Fusion space. There's a great Slack channel for that. I'm sure for any of the packages out there, they're going to be something just like that.
Absolutely.
So going from maintaining, we're going to go ahead and add in the next topic we're going to talk about here is backing up. So what do people have to do, or do they not have to do with backing up in a VPS and dedicated environment? And just for any of the kids out there, this is a cassette tape. Back in the day, we used to record on these. I'm kind of showing my age with finding this, but you could actually record on this, believe it or not. So anyway, Dakota, go ahead.
Thank you, Ryan. Yeah, so backups are, one of the most critical elements of any cloud or even a dedicated infrastructure. Things will go wrong sometimes. Speaking earlier into that maintenance aspect, an update could go wrong, and that update could be unrecoverable. So when things like that happen, organizations really need to make sure they have a good backup strategy. You can perform backups and you can have a copy of your backup available, but are you storing that on the same server that may have broke? If that's a part of your strategy, it may work for a period of time, but if that server was ever become unavailable, that backup would no longer be available. So what we encourage organizations to do or consider in their cloud strategy or their backup strategy is store those backups offsite. And by offsite, that could be another data center. It could be a separate office location. Especially in the dedicated space, when there's if there's ever a hardware failure and you're not able to replace that piece of hardware quickly, but you need the application available, you'll always want those backups to be offsite.
And if it is mission critical with those backups, to make sure that you can recover quickly. So
100%. Yeah. So recovery is just as important as backup itself. So you could sleep well knowing backups are occurring. But if you're not actively testing them and saying, okay, if a disaster did happen today, if that recovery point isn't actually available, that would be another disaster scenario. So we encourage everyone to test regularly.
I have heard there's a great meme going around that's a Mr. T, I pity the fool without a cloud backup. So back up the cloud and test those, of course. So we have backups. Next, we got security. The last piece of kind of, if you're doing it on your own, what aspects of security are needed, both on the VPS and on the dedicated side?
Yeah, this is another great topic. It's really a hot topic in the cloud and the dedicated community. Is what are security best practices, or what should I be doing for security in my organization? One of the first and most critical elements is what's happening on the server itself. Do you have any solution that's monitoring it for security issues? And one of those, you can achieve that by doing or partnering with a antivirus provider. ESET is a very popular one in the enterprise sector. In addition to that, beyond just at the server level, you need to know what's coming from the outside looking in. So we encourage customers to deploy web application firewalls that are monitoring inbound web requests. We also encourage customers to look at deploying some kind of DNS filtering solution like Cloudflare or another popular alternative. And what that does is it protects you at more than just one layer. You have the network level, you have the server level, and you have the application level. And even then, security still doesn't just stop there. There's still, what kind of audit logging are you doing? Are you monitoring for any unexpected, login events? There's several areas customers should consider.
Okay, a lot of things to look at, and we didn't even get into just the on a backup standpoint, backing up people. So if because we talk about, hey, if you want to get into this, we're giving you tools so you can do this, but let's say that you're not there, or your IT staff isn't there, just having that backup. So we advise, even if you are getting into this yourself, to consider some sort of a backup of your people program, where you have a couple hours of time from some partner out there on a monthly basis, just to be there in case you can't cover something, or in case your staff can't cover something. So guys, we've gone over a lot today. So your checklist, we're putting together this checklist for you. So you got right sizing. Make sure you're looking for those bottlenecks. Make sure you're recording that data over several days. We actually didn't cover this, but if you are recording this, making sure that it is several days, make sure that it is over your busy time, because that is important to make sure that you're recording any of your CPU or any of your utilization during your busy time. Monitoring. So have that monitoring systems in place so that you can constantly watch that, looking for any of those kind of memory leaks, and then fixing them. We also have the big things, fixing them. We gave you some solutions with that, with Zabbix, with Live Optics. If you're running a Dell infrastructure, maintaining your solutions, looking at the forums out there to understand what updates are needed, and making sure you're patching your solutions. A lot of vulnerabilities come from unpatched systems. Talking about backups, making sure you are running some backup solution, and we talk about making sure that's off-site, and making sure you can restore to it. Make sure you test that at least on an annual basis. And then, of course, on security, making sure that your system is secure and that your environment's protected, and you've done things like your penetration testing, or you're using some sort of a backup software out there. I think Dakota mentioned ESET was a very popular one. Mm-hmm. So a lot of good recommendations for you guys out there. So, but as we said, it's a lot of stuff. You can do it on your own. If you don't, at least you can take this and kind of go out there and say, hey, partners out there, can you do all these things for me so that I can maintain that my cloud infrastructure is taken care of, and I can kind of focus on my core stuff. And we just hope that if you do opt for that, then give xByte a chance. Be one of those people you talk to. All right, Dakota, anything to kind of end today with?
Well, Ryan, I think you summed it up perfectly. This is definitely a good start for organizations looking at, adopting the cloud or even expanding their cloud presence. So, absolutely reach out if you have any questions. We encourage you to ask all of your partners, how are they helping you with your cloud presence?
And if you do have questions, you can also leave them at the bottom of the video, and we will be sure to answer those. So thank you very much. This is Ryan Brown, and thank you also from Dakota Clum for joining us for Cloud Experts Unleashed. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.